Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are again at the backstage of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. We just heard the fifth competitor who just finished his playing, the fifth competitor on the second stage. Last night was very exciting here when the jury announced the 16 competitors who went through to the second round. And while we're sitting here, I'm glad to host here a young pianist from Turkey who is a guest here tonight with us, Emre Yavuz.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Emre, you're here not for the competition, right?
Well, I'm not playing, but I'm here for the competition. In Tel Aviv.
No, I mean in Tel Aviv,
yeah.
yes.
Sure.
Tell us.
I'm studying in Tel Aviv with Professor Vardi at the Tel Aviv University. And I've been in Tel Aviv for almost 6 months now.
6 months.
Yes. And I'm enjoying it.
You're enjoying being in Tel Aviv?
Yes.
And did you come all the way from Turkey to study with Professor Vardi?
Not really, because I wasn't in Turkey before I came here.
Did you study somewhere else before?
I was in Hanover, and
Yes.
I was studying in Hanover when I met Professor Vardi and decided to work with him in Tel Aviv. So I moved from Germany to Israel.
And we were sitting here and listening to the last sounds of the competitor. Were your fingers tickling a little bit? Did you also want to go there and play? I know.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
I actually I've listened to a couple of people, and it's exciting for me to sit in a hall and just listen to competitors and just being in the backstage. I'm not used to being in the backstage. I just want to go on stage and play.
And I just heard that you are a prize winner in a Vienna competition.
Yeah, that.
Which competition was that?
That was Rosario Marciano International Piano Competition.
So
in Vienna, which was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, and you won first prize.
Yes.
Wow. And what is the first prize there? Is it
concerts and a bit of money.
And a bit of money, and a lot of prestige, I guess.
Of course,
Yes.
and appreciation.
Of course.
Which is the most important for me.
And may we ask our distinguished guest to come in? Professor Arie Vardi is joining us. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
And Professor Arie Vardi is the chairman of the jury of the Arthur Rubinstein Competition. Professor Vardi is the artistic director since the beginning of the competition. Am I right?
Yes.
Since 40 years, you are actually...
From the second. In the first competition, they still wanted me to compete.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that.
Yeah, I was a chicken, I was afraid. I was already on the borderline age-wise, and I thought, well, I'd rather not risk anything.
And while we are diving into that subject, what do you say, Professor Vardi? Last night we had a big panel discussing, can one make it without a competition, or why should a young pianist go to competition? What are the chances that you would win or not win? What does it do to your career? Can you...
Tomorrow we shall host Kissin, who made it without a competition.
Exactly.
My most beloved former student, Bronfman, did it without a competition. So there are ways without competition. But this is for privileged people who were not only so talented, but also lucky to get in the right time with right connection to great conductors or somebody who loved them. Normally, people like Emre, as talented as they are, should compete.
Yes. And, you know, I must ask you something about last night, because we were all sitting here anxious and tense to hear the results. And it took some time until you came on stage. Can you tell us something about that?
I must tell you that took not more than 28 minutes. And if you think of, no, you know, in other competitions, it takes 4 hours.
Wow.
We have no discussion. The jury submitted the voting pages right away in 1 minute. And then we needed about 20 minutes to bring the data to the computer. Our good friend Ariel Cohen is doing a marvelous job. And you know, you have more than 500 data. It is 14 judges giving
16.
scores for 36 pianists.
They have to give the list.
And not scores, but you have to give names. And Ariel must, each one 16. And Ariel must put it into the computer. Right. And then I read for him the results, and he puts it. And then he reads it back to Edith and to me to make sure that we have no mistakes. That all takes about 20 minutes. Then he pushes the button and you get the results. And then sometimes there are ties and sometimes there are no ties.
So
and if there is a tie, you have to break the tie. Now you are going to ask me, was it a tie? And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. But just
the jury know if there was or was not a tie.
But what do you do when there is a tie? Do you vote all over again, or just between the two?
Each jury member gives maybe. Then once we have a tie, we mobilize all the maybe and use them. Otherwise, we don't use the maybe. We do this voting system, because otherwise you have to tell the names of the people who are in the tie. And later on, the jury will remember that those people were in a kind of risky situation. And we don't want it. We don't want any unnecessary details to be known. So the jury just knew whether there was a tie or not, but they never knew who are the people.
That's clever. And since you're sitting on so many distinguished juries in very important competitions all around the world, I guess you can gather the best systems to vote, or the most important regulations of the competition.
I believe that we have the best one in the world. We have been trying to learn from everybody and also to learn from our own experience. Right. And once the competition is over, we are asking the jury to give us any kind of advice, criticism, etc., etc. So after 14 competitions,
you already know something about.
I think we learned, but it's never perfect.
Okay, we'll get back to this maybe later. I would like to greet Miss Ella Milch-Sheriff. Hello. Welcome to our little studio here. And you are the composer who wrote one of the two pieces that the competitors they could choose from them and perform for us.
Right.
Did you have a chance to sit in the hall and enjoy your composition played and performed here?
Yeah. Until now, I witnessed all the performances. And I must say, for me, it's a unique experience, which I've never had in my life. To listen, first of all, it was a world premiere of a new piece. And
did anyone play it for you while composing?
Not while composing, but when I finished composing, yes, I gave it to 3 pianists, one of them my son. Who was the most critical one, by the way. And the 3 of them had huge difficulties, I must say, which worried me a lot on one hand. On the other, I thought it's a challenge, which I think it should be, no? So, yes, I did hear their feedback, and I even changed a few things because of that. It helped me a lot, yes.
Did it happen that any one of the competitors phoned from abroad and said, please advise on bar 25? What should I?
Never.
No, it did not.
It did not.
And you're a composer on a big scale, on a large scale. You wrote operas, symphonic music, a lot of big pieces. How did you feel when you had to concentrate and just play? And did you have in mind any one certain pianist that you were thinking of, or how did you get to writing this composition?
First of all, I must say that for me, personally, to compose for the piano is one of the biggest challenges of a composer. For me, even much more than to compose an opera. or a symphonic work, or
Really?
not less than a symphonic work. Because
Even
the
though we
piano
only have two
for
hands
me,
and
yeah,
orchestra.
2 hands, but the whole orchestra inside.
That's true.
You know, and I was, I had a lot of respect to this instrument, which I know so well from a very early age, but never played so well as the pianist here. And yeah, it was a huge challenge for me. And I'm so happy that the pianists, each one of them, each one, I emphasize, gave me something new that I understood about my music. Each one of them invested thought and time and emotions to the piece, and gave a completely different view. I was very happy. I still am.
Yes, we're still listening to this piece, I guess. It will still come again, right?
Yes.
May I add to it? You asked Ella whether somebody called or asked questions. This is a very rare situation that nobody did, because I accompanied many students applying for competitions, and we get the scores, and there are so many questions and so many mistakes, and then you send a mail, is it G sharp or G natural, or here is it must be a 16, or you must have another rest, because in contemporary music it's very easy for the composer not to make mistakes, but to write situations which are not so clear. So please accept it as a big compliment that nobody asked you any question. Yeah,
wow.
it's very
it didn't
rare.
occur to me.
Yeah, it's very rare.
And is it a common theme that a big competition commissions a work from a local composer? Does it happen in all big competition or many? Or?
The reply is yes and no. You and me know well the competition in Vienna, Beethoven competition. So for that you don't commission, because
Yes.
already Beethoven
already
was commissioned. And besides, you know, you don't have to promote Viennese music, Austrian music. You have enough of Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, whoever. But on the other hand, even Russia is promoting their own composition for the competition. Last time, a very renowned composer like Shchedrin wrote a piece for the competition. In America, I remember that for Van Cliburn, even Lenny Bernstein wrote a piece. So we, the big state of Israel, still feel very proud of our composers, of our culture.
Right.
And on the other hand, we feel committed to promote, to introduce it. And once you introduce it to 36 young pianists who learned it and adapted it as repertoire piece, they will, of course,
Perform
replay it
it
everywhere.
again and again, right?
And nobody is playing with the scores.
Yep, yeah, that's
It's
beautiful.
already theirs. It's already in their repertoire.
May I ask a question? I wonder, as a young musician, I mean, do you compose differently? Did you compose differently when you knew that you were composing for a competition?
Well, let me think about it.
I can give you the reply. The reply is yes and no.
No, I wanted it to be a challenge for the pianists, and to make nowadays a challenge is boards with the impossible. When introducing a new piece, knowing that all the pianists will choose the main big repertoire of the piano, and this should be presented along those great composers who did everything in virtuosity and technique and whatever you can think of. So I wanted it to be a challenge, not necessarily technically speaking, but also technically, but not necessarily. I wanted it to be a challenge, and if it was a challenge for them, I'm satisfied.
So that's how composing feels.
Professor Vardi, I would like to ask you, I'm sure everybody wants to know, how long does it take you, as a very experienced jury member, to know when the competitor comes on stage and plays? How long does it take to you before you say, interesting, or you say, okay?
You know the reply, don't you? In Beethoven Concerto number 4 is the first chord.
The first chord.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pathetic Sonata, it's 2 bars.
How long does it take you?
Well,
About the same.
yes.
Emre.
Beethoven fourth concerto?
Yes.
Same. Sure.
I did not play Beethoven Fourth Concerto here until now, so...
Not yet. Not yet. But do you feel that the external thing, do they influence you? For example, when a competitor comes on stage dressed that way, another way, the manière, you know, the way of playing, is that meaningful?
Body language.
Body language
is great part of our profession. It is part of the package. We try not to be influenced by that, but subconsciously we are. We try to eliminate it, but you can't. Body language alongside with playing is legitimate, but if you just take it as is, that of course is completely irrelevant. We can always compare it, you know, today you compare everything to food, to MasterChef, to all that. You look at the dish,
and you see all of it.
Yeah, but of course this is not the point. The dish must be tasty.
Emre, when you go on stage, what do you think about? What you concentrate on?
It depends.
In a competition, not in a usual concert, but when you go on stage.
It depends on what I'm going to play. And I try to enjoy. I try to forget that it's a competition.
Can you do it?
Not always, obviously. I mean, it's not that easy. And I try to enjoy it as if it was a concert. And I try to see it as a very personal communication with the audience. And if as long as I feel like I can do that during the performance, I'm very happy. And when I'm happy, I play better.
Evidence for that, Emre won first prize in a competition in Vienna, so probably his way of
thinking is
helped him
correct.
for that.
So just before we say goodbye to you, because you must go back to do the adjudicating work, I just wanted to ask you, are you happy with the standard of the competition?
Of course.
It is very high, I guess.
Of course. But needless to say, there is a general standard, and then there is the speciality of the first prize winner.
Right.
Sometimes there is a competition where the general standard is not so high, yet the first prize winner is memorable, and sometimes it's the other way around. Right. So let's hope in this competition both.
We hope so, and we wish you all the success for choosing the right competitor and having a wonderful final concert. And we'll say goodbye to Professor Arie Vardi, who has to go back to the jury. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll continue with you if you...
Thank you.
Ella, thank you very much. Ella, when sitting here and watching all these competitors, and you think how much time they invested in learning your piece, right? Do you feel very much rewarded? Do you feel that it's worthwhile, and that are you proud of what you're listening to?
Very much so. Right. Very much so. And actually, I admire every one of the pianists who chose my work, which apparently is not very easy to perform. Huh?
It isn't, yeah. I haven't tried that.
Yeah. But they didn't conquer it only technically. And that amazes me, because each one of them had a concept to bring out, and different from the other one. It was really astonishing for me. and I respect it tremendously. Really admire them. Yes, I'm proud. I'm proud also that my music can be adjusted to so many interpretations.
That's
I
wonderful.
don't know, maybe it's a compliment, maybe it's not, but I feel it is.
It's definitely a compliment that it speaks to so many different people and that everybody brings himself through your music. I think it's great. So I wish you a lot of success for the next performers and Emre for your future competitions and career. Thank you for being with us and a lot of success.
Thank you for inviting me.
Good evening, Emre Yavuz, Milch-Sheriff. Thank you. Good evening.